Welcome back to my belated annual Oscar series where I talk about all the Oscar categories except for the short film ones. I rank all the nominees per category according to who I think deserves to win the Oscar, then I make a prediction for who I think will win that Oscar. Of course, right now I'm talking about the categories from last year, and we are finally at the final category for the 2016 Oscars. That is Best Picture. Let's get right into it. So the nominees are The Big Short, Brad Pitt, Didi Gardner, and Jeremy Kleiner, producers. Bridge of Spies, Steven Spielberg, Mark Platt, and Christy McCaskill-Krieger, producers. Brooklyn, Finola Dwyer and Amanda Posey, producers. Mad Max Fury Road, Doug Mitchell and George Miller, producers. The Martian, Simon Kinberg, Ridley Scott, Michael Schaefer, and Mark Huffam, producers. The Revenant, Arnon Milchan, Stephen Golin, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, Mary Perrin, and Keith Redman, producers. Room, Ed Guinea, producer. And Spotlight, Michael Sugar, Steve Golin, Nicole Rocklin, and Bly Pagan-Fast, producers. Now, I think this is a good list of nominees. I am normally very strict when it comes to Best Picture because for me, the nominees here really have to be the best of the year. And in this list, there are a few that I really would not say were the best of 2015. Although, just to make myself clear, I did think all of these movies were great. Just some of them were clearly not Best Picture worthy. But honestly, the top two in my ranking were really hard to pick between, so it was kind of an exciting race still. Okay, so in terms of who I think deserved to win the Oscar, at 8th place, and I know this is going to come as a shock to some people, I'm going to put The Revenant. Here's the thing, on a technical level, I think The Revenant is definitely a cinematic achievement. It is designed from top to bottom to be a fully immersive experience, and it does succeed at doing that. My issue with The Revenant, the reason why it's so low in my ranking, is the fact that it does not commit to its being nihilistic. In essence, it really is a movie that has no moral. It doesn't really have a real character arc for Hugh Glass. It's really a revenge story, and I would have been fine with the movie if it was just a revenge story. But throughout the film, they keep trying to inject meaning into the movie. But it doesn't really work out, so it ends up feeling like a really hollow film that unfortunately affected my viewing experience. So that is why it is at number 8. Now at 7th place, I am putting The Big Short. The Big Short is an extremely entertaining film that is really unique in how it presents a very complicated topic that is the financial crisis and the housing market and whatnot, and presents these things in a very fun way. If anything, The Big Short is a great conversation starter. It isn't very good in terms of it being like cliff notes to understand like this huge issue that America had, but it is a great way to get into the topics being presented. The reason why it's so low in my ranking is the fact that it feels just too scattered for me and freeform in its techniques that it doesn't really maximize its impact. I feel like if they focused up a bit more, the impact of The Big Short would have been even greater. Now at 6th place, I'm going to put Bridge of Spies. I think Bridge of Spies is a highly underrated film. I think it's extremely well made. People kind of give it a bad rap because Steven Spielberg normally used to churn out like huge masterpieces, and while this film is not a masterpiece, it's still great. I think it has fantastic performances from Tom Hanks and Mark Rylance, and what I love so much about it really is that it's ultimately a story about humanity in the face of politics that threaten to tear people apart. It's not the smoothest storytelling of Steven Spielberg's filmography, but it's still a great movie that I think deserves more love. At 5th place, I'm going to put The Martian. The Martian is just a total blast of a film to watch. What Ridley Scott did with this movie is that he directed it with so much humor that came organically from the characters and from the situations. There's so much genuine drama here as well, and it's really thrilling. It will keep you on the edge of your seat. It's a consistently engaging film and a really upbeat survival film, surprisingly, about working together and about using your brain to solve these problems. It's a really old school film that I am so glad was nominated. Now at 4th place, I'm going to put Brooklyn. And Brooklyn is like the textbook example for a warm and lovely film. It is a perfect example of how to tell a classic story well. This movie is so well made, in my opinion, that the tropes that would normally come across as cliche in other films just come across as classic here. What Brooklyn gets so right in terms of its drama is that it does not judge its main characters It allows them to really just be who they are without being stupid. It's a pure coming-of-age film that features a really authentic love triangle wherein you don't really, have any bad feelings towards anybody involved. And of course, at the center of it all is Saoirse Ronan, who gives the best performance of her career so far, and she is incredible in this movie, and it is just a fantastic film in general. At third place, I am putting Room. And Room, first of all, features performances for the ages from Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay. It is so unique to me in that it's, for the first half of the film, a really harrowing thriller, but then it takes a really unexpected turn in the middle and becomes an even more harrowing psychological drama. But it balances these two parts of it just so well that it becomes something wholly unique, I think, and something that is surprisingly accessible and really emotional and very satisfying to watch as well if you can sit through the intense moments, which are really worth it. Now we have the top two. These were really hard to pick between, in my opinion, because they're both so good at what they do, but they're just so different from each other. But anyway, I ended up with this order. So at second place, I'm giving it to Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road is one of the greatest action films ever made, like hands down. It is one of those films that elevates pulp to art, like whereas this kind of stuff would come off as sort of like a B-movie in other hands, George Miller just elevates it into something else. It is perfect in its technical presentation. It has some of the best editing ever. It has some of the best directing ever from George Miller. And it's so crazy, it's so insane, and it's so fun. And it somehow manages to even put in a feminist message in there. And it's one of the most effective feminist films, I think, in the past few years. And of course, at the center of it all is not Tom Hardy as Max, who is still great in the movie, but it's Charlize Theron's movie as Furiosa. Like, she will go down in history as one of the best sci-fi action heroines of all time. She's instantly iconic from this film, and the entire thing is just such a miracle to watch. And finally, at first place, the film that I thought deserved to win Best Picture was Spotlight. Spotlight is one of the best dramas ever made, in my opinion. It is, among these nominees, the most singular vision, and I say that a lot come Oscar time, but what I mean by that is that every single element that comes to play in Spotlight feels like it's exactly where it needs to be. Like, all these different elements are working together to really help deliver this vision that the film has. It has a brilliant ensemble, mesmerizing direction from Tom McCarthy, and the impact of this film is just so huge. Like, it's a really subtle film, but when you see these horrific things happen in front of you, you get angry. Like, it really brings out such a genuine emotional reaction from the audience, and the last few frames of Spotlight will, if you're watching it in the cinema, literally dwarf you with just how immense this issue is. And it's such an important film, it's such a well-made film, and I think it absolutely deserved to win Best Picture. As for my official prediction, I also just put all my chips in on Spotlight, and thankfully the Academy also gave it the Spotlight. This was a really tough race, I recall, because The Big Short just won the Producers Guild Award, which is a big indicator for who wins Best Picture. The Revenant had been gaining steam from the BAFTAs and the Golden Globes, I believe. And Spotlight was the original favorite, but it was kind of slowing down. But, I just felt like the other films just were not up Oscar's alley. So I really bet on Spotlight, and if you really kind of paid attention to the race then, that was not a good move. It wasn't a smart bet, but it paid off. Lady Luck smiled upon me, and that was it. Alright, so we are finally done with the 2016 Oscars. Pretty soon I'll be coming out with videos for my predictions for the 2017 Oscars. That'll be fun because finally we'll be able to talk about new films. But yeah, so that does it for 2016. What do you guys think of the nominees for Best Picture last year? Who do you think deserved to win? Who do you think was going to win? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.